Hey there, and welcome to GamePoints, our weekly get-together. We talk about the last week in gaming news. I am, as always, your host, Stephen Brown. Joining me today is David Smith. We had a bit of a bad week last week, so we couldn't really stream. A lot of things went down that kind of made it impossible for us to really do a proper show.
Oh
So,
yeah, it was bad. It was real bad.
yeah,
All
I
over the
mean,
place.
I leave it to you if you want to get into the details of it, but if you don't, just keep in mind we will be covering both last week's and a little bit of the week before news tonight's show, but we did kind of cut the fat down to a nice lean cut, so we won't be babbling on pointless stuff for too long.
We're not gonna talk a whole bunch about like Red Dead Redemption 2, which we didn't talk about, but I think everyone has already talked well enough about it for us.
Exactly. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the first topic of the week. And by the way, if you're watching us live, feel free to comment into the chat, ask questions. If you're watching us on Facebook, give us a like, subscribe, comment down below, and all that good stuff. But let's go ahead and start off with stuff that happened today, and that is today is N7 Day. Now, N7 Day is BioWare's marketing idea to essentially make November 7th of every year a big Mass Effect themed push. Essentially, they're trying to create a holiday essentially designed solely around marketing Mass Effect. And a whole bunch of information about Mass Effect Andromeda dropped today, including a brand new trailer, which we'll go ahead and start playing here for you. Now, David, I don't know if you ever actually played any of the Mass Effects.
I played some of the first one.
And that's
It's
like the
actually
extent of
funny.
it.
Yeah, I'm not one of the people that got super into it. I didn't play a whole bunch of it, but I also didn't play a whole lot of the KOTOR series, which everyone told me to play Mass Effect because it was KOTOR but different, and that had nothing for me. So I never really got it. And then by the time I was interested in it, it was all very well and good. At some point, I'll probably pick up like the HD collection, but I just haven't had the time.
Yeah, EA has been very mum on there being an EA collection. They keep saying that they're not going to make one, but my stance on it is we'll see. There isn't
They
a
gotta.
yeah, it makes sense for them to make one, so I don't think that they won't make one. But a whole bunch of small tidbits came out today, like a trailer that you're seeing right here, and a few extra details. Nothing too mind-blowing. This is more or less stuff that we already kind of knew was going to happen, but let's get into a few of them. All this information, by the way, is collected via Games Radar Plus. If you want to go check them out, the link will be down below. But the new cinematic trailer shows that humans are the aliens in this new galaxy. They showed up. More or less, they crammed a bunch of people into these cryogenic sleeper ships and launched them into the nearest galaxy, and it was a 600-year trip.
Fun. I like it.
Yeah,
That's what I would do.
you're a bunch of pathfinders. You wake up and you start exploring, trying to find new worlds to colonize. Why everyone is leaving the Milky Way galaxy, that we don't know. We don't know the effects of the Reaper invasion. We don't know exactly how far after all that happened.
We can speculate bad shit though.
Yeah, all kinds of bad shit did happen then, but we don't know if something else bad is happening or if this is a response to that. They did mention that each major race kind of set their own arc, I believe they're called, these giant cryo ships out. So there is more than just the human one. You have like your human one, the Asari one, the Krogan one, the Solarian one, etc. But yeah, it's an interesting... It's kind of like they're doing the Wild West here, to where you're going off and exploring new territory. I'm into the idea, but I'm also slightly disappointed that it feels like this is their way of being able to wipe away anything that happened with the other games, because they can go, "Oh, that was
Well,
a
I mean,
different galaxy."
I think everyone was pretty done after 3. I don't think anyone really was clamoring for there to be a 4th game. I'm sure some people wanted it, but after the disappointment that was the 3rd game's ending for a lot of people, I think leaving that universe behind, but taking the overall story of the kind of characters and places and things that they created and moving it into a new location where they can explore new topics, a new hero's story or whatever they want to do with it. I think it's a good idea to get people back into Mass Effect because it is a very popular franchise.
I get why they do it. I get why they're doing it. Rather, I just kind of I feel there was a lot more in the Milky Way itself that they could have told there, especially with like the terminus systems. Not the entire thing was charted yet, but hey, I kind of hope they at least touch on what happened. I hope there's a very in-depth, this is the timeline between the end of Mass Effect 3 and today. and I really want to see them get into it. Other information that came out, it's all pretty generic stuff. I mean, romances and loyalty missions are back. It's a BioWare game. We kind of expected that. The game is supposed to release this spring in 2017, but by my reckoning, that is at most 5 months away, and they still don't have a hard release date. To me, that means this is getting delayed to fall 2017.
Yeah, I can see that. I don't actually believe this is coming out that soon after an announcement like this.
Yeah, it was originally set to be this year, before the end of 2016, but that more or less got delayed to spring 2017. I think this is the first time they've officially confirmed spring of 2017. We all just kind of assumed. But once again,
there's still, I mean, there's this trailer, but there's just not that much detail on it. I feel like we would know a lot more if we were this far out.
I want to say they did say you're going to see a major gameplay trailer at the Game Awards, which happens almost concurrently with PSX this year, first week of December. But we'll see. I think they did say that. I just don't have that information in front of me. We also had some cast news come out. In the game, your equivalent of your Shepherd character, the main character, goes by the name of Ryder, and it's actually an entire family. You have a brother and sister named Sarah and Scott, and they are voiced by Frida Wolf and Tom Taylorson, respectively. Now, I've never really heard of these two people. I know that they were both in Octodad. In fact, Tom Taylorson is the voice of Octodad, and
cool.
Frida Wolf, I believe, is his daughter.
Moving up.
Well, I also want to say that Frida Wolf, the character of Sarah, the person voicing Sarah, was the narrator to Civilization Beyond Earth.
Okay.
I'm not positive on that, though, so please double check.
It's weird. They don't sound a lot like AAA voice actors.
No, until you get to the dad, Alec. Oh, you're referring to the strike going on. I don't think the strike doesn't have anything to do with this. Their lines have been recorded for well before the strike went in. Their father, Alec Ryder, is being played by Clancy Brown. Now, Clancy Brown is recognizable to a lot of people out there. You might recognize him as Private Ziff from Starship Troopers, the Preacher from Carnival, Lex Luthor from the 90s DC animated cartoons, a whole bunch of stuff. The Krogan. Is he the Krogan from Highlander? Or is that Michael Ironside?
I don't know.
Anyways, Clancy Brown, you'd recognize him if you see him. He's in a shit ton of movies. Almost always plays a bad guy.
He's in Shawshank Redemption.
Yeah, he's the
police officer.
Yeah, he's the
dick. Yeah.
And all kinds of stuff. He plays with Dad. Essentially, the way the writer character this is going to work is that you pick either the brother or the sister. And let's say you pick Sarah. That means Scott's still in the game. You don't replace him. He's just off somewhere else doing something else. Which I think is kind of cool.
Because then you'll have interactions with your sibling, and they can have fancy gameplay things, like when the other one gets kidnapped, I guarantee, and then you have to go rescue him because they're an idiot.
Well, I've got two theories on this. One, Alec, the dad, he's going to die by the end of the first game, if not the beginning.
Oh, yeah. That's a good one.
Two, and this is a little bit more of a farther out theory, but I'd like to see it happen. The sibling you don't pick will eventually become the antagonist of the entire trilogy. Like, something happens. Either they get taken over by something, or they go, no, what we're doing is fucked up, we can't do this.
Or the dad dies without ever giving them any approval, and they're, I gotta prove myself to much as I'm angry now. I don't know. I don't give a shit.
You really just do not care about this franchise at all.
No, it's just not for me. I know a lot of people love it, so have tons of fun with it. I'll keep looking at it. There's cool videos for it.
Well, let's get into something that you are a little bit more interested in.
Oh, yeah.
BlizzCon
so the big
happened.
Thing we have to talk about is BlizzCon just happened, and a whole bunch of stuff happened at BlizzCon. Now, the big thing we'll just jump right into is that they finally, after way the fuck too many ARGs, announced the new character for Overwatch, Sombra. The funny thing is everyone has known that Sombra was coming for the longest time, but everyone was trying to get as much detail as humanly possible with their alternate reality games, which were a little over the top, honestly. And I actually saw a funny article mentioning that someone interviewed one of the Overwatch developers at BlizzCon who basically said, yeah, we're not really good at ARGs.
No, not at all, because people would solve them, and there was no reward.
Yeah, then there'd be like 2 more clues to track down a whole other thing.
ARGs
that's
need to go somewhere.
yeah. But anyway, Sombra happened, and she looks awesome,
She does.
fantastic.
Why don't you break down what she does for us, David?
So she is the first really like stealth character in Overwatch.
Reminds me a lot of the
That's
spy from Team Fortress 2.
Yeah, I can see that. She has some abilities that screw with the enemy team. She has a single point teleport. She has a cloak, obviously. She can move while cloaked. Now, she doesn't have access to her abilities or any damage or anything. She's completely invisible, and as soon as she does any action, then she leaves her cloak. But she moves faster, so she can kind of run around like that. Her teleport is like a grenade you can throw, and then you can teleport to it. She has a really cool hacking ability where you can basically turn off an enemy hero's ability. So if a character's in the middle of their ult, you can just cancel it.
No,
Or
she.
the other cool,
What
the
I
other
see
cool thing
her. Go ahead. Sorry.
The other cool thing is you can not only hack characters, but you can also hack the healing items in the game. So the spawn points where the heals pop up, you can hack it so that the enemy team cannot pick those up. In addition, if you pick them up, they respawn faster. So it kind of makes a cool little counterplay there.
One thing that I see her essentially being used more than anything else is just to kill Reinhardt shields, just constantly.
Yeah, I can see that.
That's going to be her big thing. I get the feeling that damage-wise, she's going to be just as powerful as Tracer as far as like her gun goes.
I think currently in the test realm, she does a little bit more. She has a single machine pistol that has more of a medium range.
Okay.
So I think like a little bit more than Reaper's damage, and it does fairly decent damage, but it's not the most accurate thing in the world. Obviously, being a machine pistol. The other cool thing is her ult is a mass EMP that basically shuts down everyone's ability in the area, removing all shields.
The
big thing to note, though, the big thing to note though from her kit is that she has no damaging abilities whatsoever. She has a machine pistol. Other than that, all she does is screw people.
Yeah.
So really meant to get in the back line and just cause chaos.
This is meant to go. This is that character that will use their ult third in line. You'll have someone do theirs, and then you'll have Yushio bust his to give everyone a shield, and then she immediately does hers to wipe out everyone's his ult. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how she is played. I am worried that people are not really going to use her right because she seems to be a very finesse-oriented character. But
she's going to be everywhere. She's going to be toxic. It's going to be great.
But if you are good at her,
everyone's going to play her. It's going to be super funny.
It's going to be fun. Now, is she on the PTR yet?
Yeah, she came out on PTR today. I haven't had a chance to play though.
That means she's around the corner. Then that means she should be released very soon.
Probably within the next 2 weeks.
Excellent. But yeah.
So the other thing that I wanted to jump into, so from Overwatch, there was also some Heroes of the Storm news. If anyone's playing that game, which I am, they announced 2 characters that are being added to Heroes of the Storm that are both from WoW. One of them is the King of Humans, as I understand it, Varian,
I believe.
And the other one is Ragnaros, who's a giant fire elemental boss character.
Both interesting concepts. Varian, I think, can switch between tank and DPS on the fly.
He is actually the very first multi-class hero in the game, which is the big reason why I want to bring him up, because I like that concept. He has the ability to switch between a sword and shield, dual swords, and a great sword, from what I can tell.
Oh, you know what? It's not on the fly. I don't think it depends on how you spec him.
Yeah, so I think it's like an ability or something. I don't know anything about it. I've just seen the video, but a whole bunch of cool stuff from BlizzCon. I'll let you get into the next one because you're more excited for it than I am.
I am. Real quick, while we're talking about Heroes of the Storm, though, Ragnaros is also cool in the fact that he essentially becomes a turret.
Oh, yeah.
I don't mean he turrets. I mean he takes over a tower.
Yeah, he becomes like the tower and becomes like a boss monster.
Yeah, that's really cool. In which case, you just avoid them. I don't see that getting too much play, but I don't. It depends. If you can take over some of the ones in the closer,
it'll be really good.
If shit goes,
I was just gonna say if they're trying to take the base, then that's pretty clutch.
Yeah, I mean we'll see how that shakes out. But I get this distinct feeling people just go, fuck that one. We'll go north or mid.
We'll see.
Anyways, like you were hinting at, there is another bit of information that came from BlizzCon, and that is Diablo III is bringing back Necromancers and Old Tristram, and I am super goddamn excited for this because I know you. Once again, this is something else you don't give a goddamn about.
I actually like Diablo.
Have you played Diablo 3?
No.
No. See, all right then.
But I played a ton of the old Diablo, so the idea of original Diablo content being in Diablo 3 is actually really exciting to me. That sounds cool.
So I was very, I don't want to say upset, but I was disappointed to see the Necromancer didn't make its way into Diablo 3, and instead they had this Witch Doctor, which didn't quite fill that role the way I wanted to. Well, apparently I wasn't the only one, and they just announced at BlizzCon the Rise of the Necromancer pack, I believe it's called. And
Hmm.
it is set to release in early 2017. It is going to be paid DLC for Diablo 3. And I mean, it's the old Necromancer of Diablo 2. They've clearly based a lot of his skill set on how he played. Lots of minions, a lot of the old Necromancer bread and butter spells, such as Bone Spear and Corpse Explosion. This is I always come back to Diablo 3 about once every 6 months or so and max out a character and then put it aside again. This is going to make me break that cycle. I'm going to get onto it as soon as I can. Because the Necromancer is something that I've been long looking forward to having in Diablo 3. Another bit of information is that Old Tristram will also be brought back into Diablo 3. Essentially, you're going to be able to play through a annotated version of Diablo 1 in the
Hmm.
Diablo 3 engine. And one thing that is cool that they're doing with that is they're going to add this retrovision skin to it, which makes it look all dingy and dirty like Diablo 2 was. So
Yeah, it's
I think
pretty
that's kind of
stylish.
cool.
I
So
just like the idea of going back
awesome.
there in the new graphics is definitely cool.
But yeah, I am really excited for that. Diablo 3 is a game that started off really goddamn rough and has come along significantly over the years. That is a game that is so much better than it used to be.
Blizzard doesn't give up.
No, it doesn't. And they were mad enough to actually admit the auction house was just a giant clusterfuck of a mistake. So
Yeah,
awesome.
good
Go
job, guys.
Blizzard. Boy,
People
what
that are
else?
not doing as well.
No. Let's talk about the
Oh,
disappointment that is Titanfall.
oh, Respawn. Now, here's the thing. You can't say necessarily that Titanfall 2 is disappointing because according to everyone that's played it, it's not at all. It's a fantastic game and it's far better than the first one. From
And
everyone
I
I know that have played it, the problem is no one is.
correct. This is via GameSpot, and it is Titanfall 2 sales disappointing. Let me see if I can bring up the article here.
Substantially disappointing from the article.
Waiting for the article to load up here, see if it's going to pop up or not. And if it doesn't, we'll just move on. All right, well, if you want to check out the site, you can look at the link below. But
Mm.
Titanfall, according to the article from GameSpot, Titanfall 2 sales are going to be substantially disappointing and bad enough to offset how strong Battlefield 1 is expected to be, says research firm Cowen and Company. Based on its estimates, Titanfall 2 unit sales are expected to be in the 5 to 6 million range, which is a decrease from Cohen Company's previous 9 million forecast. Titanfall 2's quality is not the problem, the firm noted, but the timing is tough.
Keeping in
Essentially,
mind that this game released, well, we'll just paint this picture.
yeah,
2 weeks ago, a game released that a lot of people have been waiting for quite a while, which is also an EA game called Battlefield 1, which is the World War One version of Battlefield. Battlefield being one of the big shooters, really, which is one completely gorgeous, really fun and more of like a slower play shooter. And then most recently, this last week, the new Call of Duty Infinite Warfare just came out, which is a fast-paced sci-fi shooter, once again a yearly installment from the Activision team. Titanfall 2 released in between those two games.
yeah, they fucked up the mark. They fucked up the release on this. They sent this out to die. No wonder why the sales aren't
And this is
good.
another game by EA. EA literally condemned a game from their own in-house studio Respawn. They
Yeah,
launched it against their own shooter. Keeping in mind that Titanfall kind of has a, I don't know, with the way this is planned out, they kind of almost have like a yearly release schedule because it came out so much sooner than the launch windows usually for a Battlefield game, because Battlefield games normally last about 3 years. Titanfall to Titanfall 2 doesn't have that same amount of launch time,
the
and then obviously Call of
Battlefield
Duty.
is annualized at this point.
Not really.
Hardline and Battle. Hardline was
Get out.
last year. Was Battlefield 4 the year before that? Was Battlefield 4 2 years ago?
Battlefield 4 was 2013.
Oh, okay. Maybe it is older than I thought it was.
Yeah, and I don't really consider Hardline to be its own game. I consider it more to be a mod of BF4.
Fair enough. But yeah, like you were saying, David, they launched this game up against their own shit. Requirement in chat is saying, I've heard that Titanfall is way more mechanically sound than Call of Duty. I have played Call of Duty Infinite Warfare. Infinite Warfare is all right. It is another Call of Duty game. Mechanically, it is
You've played it
identical to the
before.
others. Yeah, if you
You've
played
played
one,
it for
you've
the
played
last
them
8 years.
all.
Like there's no real change. I mean, there's some new movement abilities, and that's about it. It's Black Ops in space. If you've played Black Ops, you know how the game feels gunplay wise. Titanfall actually has a really cool movement system. Like that was the coolest thing about playing Titanfall was all the like the free running aspect, the jetpacks, and there's the fact that it has giant flipping robots in it.
Yeah.
If it literally wasn't for the fact that I bought Battlefield 1, because we talked about this a year ago when we were both announced that you were waiting for Infinite Warfare and I was waiting for Battlefield 1, and that's kind of where we went. And unfortunately, Titanfall 2 is a game that both of us would play if it wasn't released in between those two games.
Yeah, if they did a Dying Light and released this out in the middle of fucking nowhere, I'd be all over Titanfall 2.
If this game came out in like March or April, I would be all over it.
And I keep hearing that the campaign is fucking amazing.
Yeah.
Which is a far cry from Infinite Warfare's campaign, which is all right. It is not great. It's not bad. It's definitely better than Ghosts, but sure as fuck ain't Modern Warfare 1 or 2. I liked a lot of things.
Even then, most people just play it for the multiplayer. And the funny thing that I would like to bring up, especially talking about Infinite Warfare, is that at least on the PC version, there's an issue where if you buy Infinite Warfare from the Windows Store, it is actually getting returned because there's no one to play with. I actually saw a screen cap the other day of someone who was trying to launch the main matchmaking mode in Infinite Warfare on a Windows edition, and there was only 2 players searching for a game actively because for some reason the Windows Store version tries to match you with Windows-only players. It doesn't mix you in with the rest of the Steam community or anyone else on PC. It's only with the other Windows Store.
It's honest to God 2 separate versions.
And if you buy it on the Windows Store, even though this is technically considered one of the Microsoft Play Anywhere games, you actually don't get the Xbox copy for free. But if you buy it on Xbox, you do get both.
Yeah, I first of all, I don't get that either. That's kind of weird to me. But yeah, if you the Steam users of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare and the Windows 10 players of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare, they're gated. They can't play against each other, which is the dumbest fucking thing I've heard.
Yeah. It's really weird. They have everything completely separated. The other thing that's really funny is the other day I actually looked up the Steam reports, and I saw that the amount of people on Steam playing Call of Duty was actually less than the number of people playing Farming Simulator 2017.
Really? I haven't seen any hard sales data on that yet. That's interesting.
Which is hilarious. But since it's a Call of Duty game, obviously it's doing well on console, which is really where they get their bread and butter from.
Here's the double tragedy of Titanfall. One, apparently the campaign is way better than your Battlefield or Infinite Warfare is this year. Apparently it's just miles better on it. It makes me want to buy it just for the campaign alone.
And it's longer.
Yeah.
It's like a decent size, like
8 to 10 hours. I'm hearing.
I think the Call of Duty campaign is what, like 5 or 6.
Infinite Warfare, I beat in 5. Battlefield,
and then
the 5.
The Battlefield you can actually beat in 4 if you really wanted to, but it's like 4 or 5.
And here's the other kick in the balls. Titanfall 2 had no season passes, had no pay-to-win features like the new Call of Duty kind of has in there.
It had no pre-order bonuses.
Had no pre-order bonuses.
Editions. And it's like the perfect shooter. It's like the game that we would have been waiting for.
And it's going to bomb horribly because of fucking EA's timing. But EA is going to look at it and go, no. That's not because of our timing. That's because we didn't add all this shit to it.
Yeah, it's very upsetting because this game is not going to do well. And I actually want to support the developer. I just honestly can't.
Yeah, because they fucking put it in the middle to where they put it now when no one has any fucking money to buy it.
Yeah. And it's not like it's going to get easier to buy games in the next few weeks.
Well, I think if the only thing that I can think of is that EA was trying to go, okay, if we flood the market with shooters, it'll derail Call of Duty. And instead, they just fucked each other because not only is Titanfall not selling well enough to be a hit, but it's selling so poorly, it's eating away what Battlefield was doing for EA.
Mm-hmm.
So...
Battlefield is doing well, though.
Yeah, Battlefield's doing some excellent. but Titanfall is doing so badly, they cancel each other out. Anyways, I think we've beaten this to death. Let's go ahead and go on to another thing that's not doing too well, unfortunately, and that
This
is
is actually
Evolve.
really upsetting for me.
It is.
Talking about Evolve. Now, Evolve is a game that I played the beta for, and I loved it. I thought it was amazing. I couldn't wait for this game. And then they decided to just ruin it with the way they're releasing the game. With just a ton of pre-order crap. And this is the game that we had a literal spreadsheet for because there was like 26 different editions if you bought it from this store or that store. And if you wanted all the content, you had to buy the game 4 times.
Yeah, fuck that.
Which was ridiculous. So we just said no. Like anyone I knew that wanted to play it, we all just said no. No one bought Evolve. And it had a terrible player base. No one really got into it. But Turtle Rock kept working on it. They kept doing a lot of stuff and balance changing. And I know not a lot of people bought it, but the people that did were enjoying it, besides some issues. And very recently, they actually decided to go free to play, which was awesome. And I actually downloaded it and I played some Evolve. And it was just as fun as it was in the beta, except for now I had access to everything just with time. I didn't really see anything when I was playing that was super pay to win. It seemed like I was able to earn everything just over time. Maybe it was a little grindy, but whatever. It's an asymmetric shooter, and I don't get to play those that often. So to hear that, unfortunately, this most recent announcement, which is from actually from Turtle Rock
This is
Studio.
from Turtle Rock themselves on their blog. Let me quote here. This is directly from their blog. Quote, "Seems like the greater things you aspire to, the more time it takes. We had huge aspirations for Evolve, and while we got to spend 5.5 awesome years on Planet Shear with a ragtag group of planet tamers and fearsome monsters, it still doesn't feel like enough. We were hungry for more, but unfortunately today is the last day that Turtle Rock Studios can work on Evolve. This is the life of AAA game developers who aren't self-funded and don't own their IP. We don't get to make the call. We all know that going in, but we still sign the dotted line because it's that we love what we do." Yeah, essentially the publisher
Basically,
2K killed it.
Basically, 2K said, "Hey, guess what? You guys are done. Evolve is done. We're over it." And so, yeah, Turtle Rock is stopping all development. There'll be no further updates, no further content, no further anything for a game that just went free to play and just finally started getting players.
Do you honestly now let's be honest here. With the game release, do you think it's egregious pre-order push with all that shit you were talking about was a big cause of its player base dying, or was that just people bitching to bitch?
Well, because here's the thing: there was all that pre-order bullshit, but then there's the fact the game launched with no fucking content at $60.
Yeah, that's true. It was
like there's a million different pre-order things, and you could spend $100-something on this game to play 3 monsters on 5 maps with 4 hunters, and that was it. That was the whole game. It was a $60 Left 4 Dead with less to do.
Not that Left 4 Dead had all that much content to begin with.
That's why I picked that one and not the second one. Really drives it home. But then they finally go free to play, and now there's like 16 different characters for each class. There's a whole bunch of monsters. There's a whole bunch of skins, all kinds of stuff you can earn. And it's just done, and it's really upsetting. Thanks, 2K.
Yeah, that sucks.
You ruined them before they actually had a chance.
Yeah, that's why I'm super worried about Watch Dogs 2, actually, because Watch Dogs 2 just announced their big, massive... I mean, that's coming out next week, right? But if you look at all their pre-order shit, it also requires a spreadsheet, and there's like 9 different copies you can reserve.
I'm also thinking that Turtle Rock is not the person's responsible for all the pre-order bullshit and the way the game launched.
No, I absolutely don't blame Turtle Rock in this at all. This is all on 2K.
Yep. So it was literally a smaller studio. They got picked up by a big studio so they could make a project they loved, and then they got hamstringed by a bunch of people looking for the bottom line, which we hate to see it.
Yeah, that sucks. But say la vie. Next topic. Nintendo will not be saying much about anything about the Switch until 2017. Now, what's funny about this is I literally in the earlier of the show said I'm concerned that Mass Effect is not going to be spring 2017 because of how little information there is on it. It's probably going to get pushed back. That doesn't hold here. I think Nintendo is still going to release this console. We're just not going to know shit about it until 2 months before it comes out, other than what they showed us already. In fact, the only information we have coming on it isn't until January, according to this tweet from Nintendo of America that was back in a late last week, late a week and a half ago, I should say.
Yeah.
Learn more about Nintendo's new home gaming system at the Nintendo Switch presentation streamed live on January 12th at Nintendo. This is them essentially saying, we ain't saying dick about this game until then.
Yep. Stop asking us questions. You're not going to get anything.
That's a quick turnaround, though.
Which is not good for me, because I already don't have any faith in it. So, yeah, chances are they're not going to win me over in 2 months.
I can see why they're doing this, though. And the reason why they're doing this is because they still want to sell Wii U's. So if you crank up the hype machine about this new console too hard, you're not going to sell any you're not going to sell any Wii U's right before Christmas.
That makes sense.
So I get why they're doing it, and I'm pretty sure that the Switch isn't getting delayed. Nintendo, I don't think, has ever delayed anything, ever.
I still don't know who the Switch is for.
Yeah, I'm kind of in that same boat. It looks cool. I like the idea behind it, but until I see some games for it, I'm on the man.
I don't know if I talked about this in our Switch topic of the week whenever we did that, but there's the fact that, to me, I feel like Nintendo doesn't necessarily understand mobile gaming, even though they're a huge force behind it. But if you think of the advantage of the rise of all the games on your phone, or the advantage of having a bunch of games that you can download to your DS or your 3DS, and it's that it fits in your pocket and you can have it with you all the time. This big ass, super cool looking controller thing that comes with the Switch is not the kind of thing I can toss in my pocket and have with me when I'm waiting in line at the DMV.
No, this is, let's face it, this is essentially an iPad-sized device.
I mean, it's if I want to take my game from my living room to laying on my bed, that's really all it's going to be good for. So I don't know if it's going to have the power to run the games that I want it to run. And I don't know if they're going to have enough exclusives to sell it to me. So I'm really anxious to see this presentation. I need to know what they're going to offer to me, because, I mean, as it is, I don't care for the Switch. I don't need it at all.
What if on January 12th they come out and they say available day one, that new Mario game they teased right there, which I hear is supposed to play a lot more like Sunshine and Mario 64 than it did Mario Galaxy, which was already
a Mario game won't sell me a console.
They also go day one Zelda Breath of the Wild, which is that Skyrim
Skyrim Zelda. If a Mario and a Zelda game sold me a console, I would have bought a Wii and a Wii U.
Fair enough. And what if they come out and say a brand new Monster Hunter day one?
That's their best shot.
That's their one hope with you.
If it can upscale to 4K.
What about what's the next? Is Monster Hero XX? Is that the newest one?
I don't know. Monster Hunter Generations, I think, is the most recent.
All right. What if it was that one that's been out for a little while, and all they did was up-res it?
Nope.
Was that no or yes? I missed it. Sorry.
Just a no.
No. You need a new high-def Monster Hunter.
Yeah, I want something built for the ground up for a console.
Okay.
They can also give me a brand new F-Zero. That would sway me.
That's a franchise I'm shocked they haven't done in a long time. Even like something fucking stupid.
Nothing since F-Zero, DX or whatever for GameCube?
Yeah.
And it was also in the arcade?
Yeah, it was like F-Zero GP or... Yeah, I know what you're talking about. You had the cards you could stick in like Initial D.
Yeah, that game was sweet.
Yeah, but anyways, if you're hoping for more Nintendo news before the end of the year, nope, not going to happen. Suck it. Yep. Next topic. Shadow of the Tomb Raider. The story's kind of funny. Shadow of the Tomb Raider has been leaked, but in the most unusual way. Now, the story comes via Kotaku, and it is by Jason Schreier. The man somehow is able to get stories before anyone else does. And the headline is, Name of Next Tomb Raider leaks because guy had it open on Subway. Some advice for professional game developers and marketeers: don't open up confidential information in public, the article says. Especially don't do it on a crowded subway. Take the case of Redditor AAA280, who wrote today he was riding a Montreal subway and saw this in this photo here. As you can see, it is a laptop open up with some dude typing in it looks like a sell sheet for what looks to be Shadow of the Tomb Raider.
Yep, and there's a bunch of like art information on the page that he was reading,
yeah.
like a little bit over the shoulder. Which is
This
funny
is
because we already know that the new Tomb Raider is going to be handled by Eidos Montreal as opposed to Crystal
Crystal
Dynamics,
Dynamics.
and this is like already a confirmed thing. So the fact that this happened in Montreal just means that someone was working on the subway. It's also really funny because Assassin's Creed, I think Black Flag was released or leaked the exact same way,
I
but in
think it
an
was a
airport.
Syndicate, but yeah, it was an Assassin's Creed game.
Yeah,
Also from a Montreal studio.
yeah, hilarious.
They're just too polite in Canada. They don't think that people would be like rude and
Mm,
spying
Why
over their
would
shoulders.
why would anyone read my laptop? I'm just looking at my laptop.
Yeah. So hilarious. We know the name of the new Tomb Raider game, Shadow of the Tomb Raider. I don't think that Square Eidos have confirmed or denied this yet, but it's pretty fucking obvious that that's what this is, which is good.
At least it's just a name.
Yeah, I'm happy there's another Tomb Raider coming out. The Rise of the Tomb Raider and Tomb Raider the reboot were both excellent games. I had a blast playing them both.
They look phenomenal.
And I'm always afraid that this is a franchise that's always one game away from getting the axe because I don't ever think it sells as well as they hope it would. But it sells well enough to keep making sequels too.
Which works for me.
Yeah,
I like it.
I like it. That's good. More Tomb Raider coming up. Final bit of news that I want to go over is this THQ Nordic buying Novalogic crap because that's
Okay,
all. Go ahead.
I would like to talk about the fact that Nordic is really entertaining to me because I like that company and the fact that they have just been eating up old publishers and old IPs recently. I think it's pretty fantastic because it's something that EA did a while ago, and I don't know. It's just I like the concept that they could potentially be pulling back a bunch of old franchises that do have a fan base lying out there. And if they're able to pull any of these things out to any degree of success and make some money on it, go for it. I also have a soft spot because of the fact they rebranded to THQ Nordic, and I love THQ, so I'm very happy they're back, even if they're only back in spirit.
So you say that, but this purchase, none of these have a fan base. This article is via Eurogamer.
Shut up.
THQ Nordic buys Delta Force F-22 series and is open to revival ideas. The article's kind of written tongue-in-cheek, but essentially all I need to know is that they bought Novalogic, and along with buying Novalogic, they get access to the following: Delta Force, Comanche, Joint Operations, Armored Fists, F-22, F-16, and the only game I'm familiar with on the list, Tachyon the Fringe.
I know someone that played Delta Force. I played an Overwatch game earlier with someone named Armored Fist. I mean, people are out there.
I would like to see another Tachyon the Fringe only because it's a space sim game in the vein of Wing Commander and Free Space and all that.
I mean, there are a lot of like military style, maybe simish shooters.
Remember,
I know one of them was a voxel based game. So
remember PlayStation 1, how they had that glut of like dollar store war games, like all the Delta Force games? That's what these are, I think. None of them were ever good.
Fantastic. Get it, THQ. I believe in you guys.
It's not good. It's bad. It's all kinds of bad. But
all right,
THQ Nordic, I don't know what they're doing.
Yeah, well, potentially they're going to make some games that you can buy at some point in the future.
We'll see.
Which sounds cool. But let's talk about games that you can buy right now.
Sounds good. David, what do we have coming out this week?
So I'll start with the big one, and that is something that I know you are pretty excited for, and that's Dishonored 2, releasing for PC, PS4, and Xbox One.
I love that trailer for that has Gold Dust Woman playing in the background. It's so fucking good.
It looks great. Dude, the booth that they had at PAX for Dishonored 2 was amazing. They had this whole like studio you could go into and see all the decor, and they actually had a full-size one of the robot crazy guys.
Yeah, they essentially did it as if you were in that dude's office.
Yeah, fantastic. There's a lever you could pull that made the desk disappear. I don't know if you saw that while you were there.
I didn't see the desk ever disappear, but I know if you pulled it, you heard like the chains going on underneath.
No, well, I don't know. And so that's coming out this week. A bunch of people are very excited for that. We also have a game that I think looks fantastic that I actually think you need to pick up so that I can come over and play it. And that's Robinson the Journey for PSVR.
No, I've never even heard of this.
Now, the reason why we want to be interested in Robinson the Journey is that this is the first PSVR game made by Crytek. Yes, the CryEngine Crisis people.
The same
So,
Crytek that was having major financial troubles and unable to pay their staff.
anyway, from what I've seen of it, it looks gorgeous. And the premise is it's a sci fi game where you are on a human colonization ship, except for things went wrong. You were in a pod, it crash landed. And guess what? You're like an 11-year-old kid alone on a planet filled with dinosaurs.
That kid's fucked.
Yeah, but it looks
Let's be
fantastic.
honest here.
He's got a little robot advisor that goes along with him that's very reminiscent of Wheatley from Portal 2. And from what I can tell from the trailer, it also looks like he has a pet dinosaur. So anyway, PSVR game, CryEngine. Looks great.
That could be cool.
We'll see what happens. We also have Tyranny releasing on PC. Now this is the next game from Paradox and Obsidian. They're the guys that made Path of Exile, among various other things. This is, instead of being a large hack and slash multiplayer adventure, is a single player RPG with a kind of cool story built into it.
I
It's more
think it's
traditional.
just being published by Paradox. It's being developed by Obsidian, and they didn't do Path of Exile. They did Pillars of Eternity.
Oh, I'm sorry. You are correct, and I am wrong.
I just wanted to be 100% certain, not to step on you, but
I actually frequently confuse those games because they have the same acronym. To be fair, that's my bad.
Yeah.
So I guess more RPG cred is all you get there.
Yeah, it's Tyranny looks
But
cool.
it's a full choice-based game, so it's very make decisions now that will affect the game later, from what I can tell, and you're kind of integral to the development of the area, or I don't know what we call it.
I don't know too much about it, but I'm probably going to pick it up because I like the premise to it. Essentially, evil has won, and you work for an evil tyrant. And it's not like the comical evil like in Overlord. It's like, okay, cool. Your army needs to wipe out these rebels and all the women and children and all there, or I'm going to kill them and your army on top. So you have all these, like one of the quests that I was reading about was this army of evil is made up with a bunch of people who can't work together. They fucking hate each other as well because everyone's evil. So your goal is to come in here and wave your dick around and make all these evil forces work for one common evil to wipe out all the good.
Yep.
So I like the idea of it. If you like Pillars of Eternity, it definitely looks a lot like that. And if you're into this classic RPG revival that's been going on lately with this and Wasteland and Baldur's Gate 3 in development, take a look at it.
All right. The next thing coming out is Eagle Flight is actually being released on PS4 for the PSVR. Eagle Flight being a game that, if you haven't seen it, have you played Assassin's Creed? You played Assassin's Creed, right? The original.
Yeah.
You know when you climb to the very top of one of the watchtowers and you stand there and it makes like the eagle cry and you can see around the city? This is an entire game where you play as that eagle.
Yeah.
You just kind of fly around in various really pretty looking cities. It's kind of a more relaxed, I don't know, musically driven game along the lines of like a Flow or a Flower or something like that. There's a lot of the vibe I get.
Not what I saw when they demoed this at E3.
Really?
Ubisoft demoed Eagle Flight at E3, and it was just laughably long. They showed a full like multiplayer match of a 3-on-3 eagle fight where you had to go grab, I want to say it was like a bird or some kind of scurrying animal on the ground and take it back to your nest while the other eagles were trying to beat the shit out of you.
Okay.
So
well, then
there is,
apparently
like,
it
a
has
multiplayer
multiple modes. Is what it
yeah,
seems
we could
more
have
like.
seen two separate things for the same game.
Because the thing I've seen actually is just like a music thing where you're flying through rings like Superman 64. Like, no joke. Like, that's the trailer that I watched where the guy's like flying his eagle around and he's just going through and there's upbeat music and it's just like swooping through and getting scored. I don't know.
Either way, I would say, nah, don't worry about it.
Let's super into eagles.
This feels like an Ubisoft cash-in on VR.
Yeah, but maybe you're into eagles. Who knows?
Who knows?
The next thing, I guess, that's coming out this week that some people might care about is the PS4 Pro is finally releasing. So if you are the kind of person that has a 4K TV with ultra high definition, maybe consider a PS4 Pro if you don't already have a PS4. It's releasing at $399.
Your alley. I think this is going to be the one you're going to get.
yeah, it kind of targets me because I'm the person that has a TV good enough for it, but no HD consoles. I still have a PS3. So that's what it's for. It also is, so if you have no idea what we're talking about, we talk about the PS4 Pro. It's going to play all of the PS4 games. There's no exclusive for it. There's no exclusive games to the PS4, but anything released on the PS4 Pro is going to have more or less like an upscaled version. I think they have 60 some odd games they've already announced that are confirmed to have the upscaled PS4 Pro version enabled on them. The Horizon Zero Dawn that's coming out is going to have it. The new Final Fantasy is going to have it. There's a whole big list you can look on Sony's website. So it's also going to take advantage of maybe a higher frame rate. And a big thing I honestly think is that the PSVR games are going to look a lot smoother and crisper on it. So, hey, that's exciting. But that's far from the only console being released this week. Now, while the PS4 Pro is big and probably going to sell very well, honestly, the part that I think is going to sell a little more, at least right off the gate, because I know a ton of people that are stoked for it, is the Nintendo NES Mini.
Absolutely. I'm buying this, and I have all these games already.
Yep. So that is the very small, adorable NES console that comes with a controller. You can get separate controllers. It actually has an HDMI port, and it comes with 30 games loaded on the system, all your favorites from the NES. You can play, the original Mario Brothers games. You can play just all kinds. Just look it up.
It's an impressive fucking collection. It's $60 for 30 games. You can hook it up to modern TVs, and it's not just Nintendo shit.
And it looks great. Like looking at it, it actually looks better than any emulated game I've seen.
I'll have to take a look at that.
It's like the best looking emulated version of an NES game that you've seen. It probably looks better than it did when you were a kid, honestly.
But
so that's the biggest gripe I've seen, though, from the pre-release specs is that the controller that it comes with has an abysmally short cable. So unless you're sitting right next to the console or right next to your television, which actually is kind of retro if you think about it, you're probably going to want to invest in either a USB extension cable, or there's a bunch of companies already making wireless controllers for the thing, so you can take a look at one of those.
Yeah, it is 2.5 feet long because that is the length of the old Nintendo controllers. They actually went old school retro. What's cool about this too is that it's not just Nintendo games, because Nintendo has a lot of shitty games that were Nintendo first party games, like fucking Wrecking Crew or Balloon Fight. I know people love Balloon Fight for some reason. It's not a good game. But also on this, fucking Castlevania, Mega Man, Final Fantasy, Star Tropics, for God fucking sake. There are some great games on here. The licensing agreement for this thing alone is impressive. I'm shocked they had this many people sign on to
Balloon Fight is on it. Bubble Bobble.
Yeah, I mean, there's some shit on there too.
Double Dragon, Dr. Mario, Excite Bike, Final Fantasy, Galaga, Ghosts and Goblins, Gradius, Ice Climber. I said I wasn't going to do the list, but I looked at it anyway.
Yeah, it's good. It looks great. So yeah, if
Punch Out with no Mike Tyson.
Yeah, with good reason.
Yeah, you fight a palette swap Tyson at the end, so it's actually Punch Out featuring Mr. Dream is what they call it.
Well, Mr. Dream was who it was before they got Mike Tyson. Punch Out with Mr. Dream was what that game originally was.
Well, Mr. Dream is back.
Yeah, go Mr. Dream. Anyways, I think that does it for new releases, so let's go ahead and talk about what could possibly be one of my favorite topic of the weeks.
Oh, God.
Most memorable politicians in gaming. Here at GamePoints, we are going to celebrate the upcoming American Doomsday election by talking about the great, most memorable politicians in gaming. Essentially, these are people who held... What was that?
Giant Meteor 2016.
These are any politician who has held office in a video game can be included. Criteria 3 to 5 political figures. If you have your own political figures you want to mention in chat, go right ahead, and we'll be sure to get to them if we can. But
they can be good either, or evil, or neither.
Yes, they can be good.
Or both.
They can be good people, they could be bad people, or they could just be both, like you said. They could be indifferent. And the reason why that's important is that we're going with the more Time Man of the Year thing, as opposed to Greatest Person of the Year. Because Time Man of the Year is who is the most influential. People like Hitler have been on the cover of Time magazine, which is super fucking relevant to my first pick, Mecha Hitler from Wolfenstein.
That's fantastic. Mecha Hitler from Wolfenstein. Yeah, dude, he was a great politician in that game. He with
honorable mention to revived zombie Hitler from the original Bionic Commando.
Okay, yeah, various Hitlers. Well, if we're gonna go with greatest video game political characters, and you're gonna go ahead and just name a real person with some weird traits, then I'm gonna go to my first one, which is gonna be Gandhi from Civilization.
You know what
And
was
the
funny
reason
is
I
that
need to
Gandhi
talk
was
about
my second too.
the reason we have to bring up Gandhi in a list about the greatest game politicians is because of the glitch from the original Civilization game that if for some reason you don't know, I'm gonna tell you about. And that is everyone had a kind of anger meter, more or less, that kind of showed how much they would conflict with other players and how passive they would be. And Gandhi, of course, they set his meter as low as humanly possible, all the way down to a 1. Now, the one thing they didn't think about is when the game hits the diplomatic era, Gandhi would always pick diplomacy as his trait, more or less. And the thing that that does is when you pick the diplomatic path, it actually lowers your aggression by a factor of 2. Now, since his was already technically at the lowest of a 1, it lowered him down 2. And instead of just dropping to 0 and then to -1, since the old game wasn't able to actually do that, it hit a overflow error and actually jumped to 255. Which meant as soon as you hit the diplomatic era, Gandhi went nuts on your ass, nuked the shit out of you, destroyed your nation, and declared war on everybody, even if he was way behind. Which, while remarkably inappropriate, most people found to be incredibly hilarious. So, to kind of keep it that way, the developers of Civilization have always left in the Easter egg that Gandhi is a little more aggressive than he should be. They have made it so he's less angry in the more recent games. But one thing he does do is he will stockpile nuclear weapons and he's not afraid to use them, which is
Yeah.
how the entire nuclear Gandhi meme kind of started.
In fact, Civ 6, if you look at Gandhi's traits, if you're playing against him, it actually has under his traits Nuke Lover. The man does not care if you use nukes, he encourages it. You actually get diplomatic favor with him if you use nukes. And in addition, while he's not necessarily as bloodthirsty, he builds up an army like no one's fucking business and gets pissed off if you don't have a massive standing army either. He won't attack you, but he gets really fucking surly if you don't have a massive standing army.
It's hilarious. One of the funniest glitches that's really ever happens. And that's why Gandhi is going to be my first pick for best game political character.
All right, so my next one is the 43rd President of the United States,
Damn it!
George Sears, also
Damn
known as Solidus.
Damn it!
Solidus
Super on
Snake.
my list. That's literally one of my better picks. Anyway.
Main bad guy, final boss fight of Metal Gear Solid 2, comes out wearing a Dr. Octopus suit, beats the shit out of you as you fight him on top of Arsenal gear, which has crashed into New York City and parked itself right in front of the stock exchange, I believe, on Wall Street.
Yeah, fantastic. Now the whole thing is George Sears, aka Solidus Snake, is technically the third clone of the Les Enfants Terribles project, which cloned Big Boss, with Solid Snake getting all of the regressive traits and Liquid Snake getting all of the whatever other traits.
Hideo Kojima
That
literally watched Twins way too often.
Yeah. So unfortunately, they had a not completely Big Boss and another not completely Big Boss, and they got all mad, and Big Boss left. So like, fuck, we need another Big Boss. So they cloned him one more time, super accelerated his age so that he was older than the other two, and he was an actual perfect clone of Big Boss. So the name Solidus, the Illuminati or whatever the fuck, the Patriots in Metal Gear decided that
The
he was
Lali
their.
Lule Lo.
They decided that he was their new hero. They made him the president. He went a little nuts and tried to kill Raiden, and then you bare knuckle boxed him on top of a giant death machine robot in the middle of New York, and it was fantastic.
Let's be honest here. None of the Metal Gears make any fucking sense, but they look
They all
epic
make
as all hell.
they'll make perfect sense. You just have to believe.
All right, David, looks like I swiped one of yours. You swiped one of mine. That makes us even. So what's your next one?
All right, I'm gonna save my best one for last in the dire hope that you won't take it, but knowing us, there's a very good chance we're gonna agree on it. So instead, I'm gonna go to a character from a lesser known game released in 1997. Now, this character was a president in a film with the same name, and he is fantastic in both. And yes, I did the research, and yes, he is in the game. I am talking about Bill Pullman's character from Independence Day, the greatest movie president of all time.
That pick is going to be under review, but I'll allow it for the moment.
He is in the video game, and the game, I actually looked it up and found it. No shit, has straight up FMVs in it containing both
God
uh,
Damn it.
containing Bill Pullman and what the hell's that guy's name? The
Will
doctor
Smith?
guy.
Oh, Jeff
No,
Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. I was gonna call him Ian McKellen.
Ian because you're thinking of Malcolm Ian from fucking Jurassic Park.
Yes, I can't get that out of my head. Anyway, yeah, there's FMVs with both of them in it, so that's gonna go ahead and count because he's a
Technically
president.
counts, I guess.
He's in a video game. He's awesome, and he gives you a speech.
My next topic, which is very well your number one, the mayor of Metro City himself, Mike Hagar.
Oh wow, we went different ways. I'm so excited.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I actually have a better one than you.
Mike Hagar, the buff ex-pro wrestler who eventually goes out to rescue his daughter from Final Fight.
Yeah.
That man
He's
is
fantastic.
America personified, and I would fucking vote for him in a second.
Dude, Hagar's in a lot of stuff too. He didn't
is.
just leave. He's
He's
in like
iconic.
Marvel vs. Capcom. He's great.
He is not my number one, though.
All right, well, let's see if I stole your number one since
Unlikely,
I do have
but we'll
one
see.
left. So this is a game that I come back to every once in a while because I really have to because it's one of the greatest franchises of all time. And so I'm just going to jump right into it. But there's a game that was released for PC that was one of the greatest first-person shooters ever, and that game had a sequel. And that sequel had one of the greatest authority figures of all time, and his name was Wallace Breen.
I didn't even think about Wallace Breen.
Half-Life 2's crazy, batshit insane villain, Dr. Wallace Breen.
The administrator of one of Earth's last surviving cities.
Correct. Well, he was originally the administrator of the Black Mesa Research Facility. When shit hit the fan and aliens invaded and decided to throw all the humans in a little compound and put in a device that neuralizes our ability to breed, he was the guy in charge of everything. And he is an asshole. Your antagonist for all of Half-Life 2, the encounter with him and the events directly after your encounter with him were some of like my favorite moments from that game. So, yeah.
Yeah, he's omnipresent throughout City 17. You see his face on every telescreen, reading letters.
On TV. He's very much like the main authority figure in. Well, he's very much like the main authority figure in V for Vendetta. If you think like that guy that's always on the radio and always telling you about how you shouldn't do this and you shouldn't do that and blah blah blah.
Yeah, Louis Prothero.
Yeah,
the
very
voice
much
of England.
But
yeah, no, great pick. I didn't even think
more
about
of
that.
A dick. Yeah, Wallace Breen, my number one, best politician in gaming.
My number one. Not so much because I like him as a character, because he really didn't have much of a character, but because of a very specific quote that he gave us that I still use to this day. And this is Commissioner Pravin Law from Alpha Centauri. He is one of the characters from Sid Meier's Alpha Centauri, another Civilization-like game. And the reason why I picked him is because of this one quote, this fictitious character says, rings true today more so than it ever did when I first heard it back when Alpha Centauri came out. And this quote is as follows. Beware of he who would deny you access to information, for in his heart he dreams himself your master. I fucking pull this quote out at bars, and it makes me sound like a fucking genius.
Of course you do. Of course you would go there.
Because that shit sounds like something some great philosopher or historical figure would have said. But no, it was some fucking dude from a video game. But god damn it, that quote fucking resonates with people hard.
It's not bad. It's pretty good. I mean, he's no Wallace Breen, but that's pretty good.
I didn't even think about Wallace Breen. That is, yeah, that's number one with a bullet. Followed by Mecha Hitler.
Right? Just, they're like right there, right next to each other.
But anyways, I think that wraps things up. This has been GamePoints episode 67. If you're watching us live here at Twitch TV, thank you. We appreciate it. We do broadcast every Monday at 8 p.m. Pacific Standard Time when we can. Sometimes some shit happens like last week that we can't. If you can't watch us live at Twitch, you can always go to YouTube. Just type in GamePoints PC, GamePoints one word, and we pop right up there. You can watch most of our old shows online, unless there's some audio problems like we've had the past few. You can follow us at Twitter at GamePoints PC. You can follow us individually. I'm your host, Steven Brown. You can follow me at CapitalistPig21. You can follow David there at palshife_Satori. Like, subscribe, follow, go to the Facebook page, do all that good stuff if you like us. We will see you again next Monday. And without further ado, we are out of here.